Hello, the name of the research is Art Brut and Art Education, Pedagogical Actions. Now you can take a look of the abstract. Is a term that covers those people and creations that take place outside the academies and official art circuits, and in many cases, in marginal contexts, nowadays intends to be used as a synonym for art brut, outsider art, and inside art. When dealing with the subject of art brut, other terms that are synonymous and approximate ourselves such as outsider art, art brut, marginal art, spontaneous art, inside art, pure art, intuitive art, gestaltung, folk art, visionary art, art of the schizophrenic persons, self-taught art, or original art also came up. The term was art brut at the best. Was created in 1945 by Jean de Buffet, artist and art brut researcher. Then, in 1972, Roger Cardinal, professor of literature and visual studies at the University of Kent, began to use the term outside art, referring to productions made by people often perceived as different because they are dysfunctional, generally mentally ill, or anachronistic, as well as not having a different background or identity. Jean de Buffet is a key figure. During the summer of 1945, the French painter researched the artistic expression of the mentally in France and Switzerland. He started his Art Brut collection, which was sold for the first time in 1945, and published a text with the title Art Brut is better than the cultural arts. About the elements of marginal works in relation with the characteristics of authoritarian art as Buffet understood it. The art brut artist was an adult person who carried out artistic activity without any previous knowledge, and was also a cultural outcast and an individual who formed part of a marginal social group. Why the interest in outside art? At the beginning of the 20th century, interest in outsider art expanded, which was a convergence of curiosity towards different themes that had been marginalized and set aside from the official pattern, such as children's art, oriental art, Previous the beginning of the first collections of art created by sacred patents, such as the Princeton collection, the overcoming of naturalism in art and the new innovative pedagogies. And who is part of Art Brut? According to Garcia, these are self-taught, eccentric loners, visionaries without academic training, sacred patrons, popular artists, criminals, and other marginal figures that have these three characteristics. One of the characteristics of outsider art is the selection of materials and the use of techniques. The latter are usually self-taught techniques, focusing the work on those materials that are available in the environment, such as fabrics, threads, containers, breadcrumbs, and pencils. As far as the method is concerned, the work is improvised. There is no plan or compositional will. The process is flexible, and the processes are often more important than the goal. The themes are usually autobiography and fantastic themes, often with a strong symbolic arc, also working on symbolic themes. Among the common characteristics of the authors is the stereotyping or repetition of gestures and themes in the form of patterns, which often leads to fill the Google space. According to Garcia, outside art artists fall into several sectors. Those where repetition, stereotyping, and style stand out. Those who focus their work on plastic writing, artists who create marvelous machines and maps. Authors who focus on recycle and accumulation, people who create media and visionary art. And finally, those arts, mostly women, who express themselves through embroidered textiles and dolls. Here we have the sectors that Garcia explained. Repetition, stereotyping, and style stand out. Work on plastic writings, marble machines and maps, recycle and accumulation, media and visionary art, textiles and dolls. Finally, in terms of centers for the dissemination of art, brut and outsider art, there is currently the European Outside Art Association in Europe. It aims to connect European society with these artists and to stimulate dialogue and international cooperation. The presence of this art form in official art centers in the United States is varied, with two examples. The first of these is in Los Angeles, called the Craft and Folk Art Museum, and is dedicated to artists who are not on the arts circuit or represented in institutions. On the other hand, in Chicago, in the Institute Museum of Intuitive Art and Outsider Art, taking up the question of Brut and outsider art. People with disabilities and those who are somewhat marginalized are now considered to be legitimate artists. So, in some cases, art in their education is not provided as an occupational task, but as a professionalization activity, as an action that channels in the needs of expression and creation of these artists. This is also the approach of some educational centers, perhaps one of the best known in the Creative Growth Arts Center, which is a center for artistic creation for adults with mental and physical disabilities. It was founded in 1974. When the section of the study began, systematic research was made for researchers on education and art brut or outsider art or marginal art. What became clear is that it's not always possible today to dissociate the user from art therapy. In most cases, art therapy was being strongly studied. When analyzing the documents and articles, two lines of work can be found. The first one more focused on the specific effects of health, and a second group of works in which there is also a proposal for an educational model in relation to artistic mediation for social intervention. The studio is made up of 3 educational projects, the main objective of which was to introduce non-art university students to Brut, art Brut, and Brut artists. Other objectives were to influence the creativity of the participants through an educational situation, mainly a practical workshop, which uses art as a vehicle for social integration. Were 16 university students. The second of the educational actions was proposed to a group of 29 primary education teacher training. In the third case, the number of artistic references related to outsider art was reduced to give way to art theory content. The group consisted of 120 students of childhood education. Experiences were positive. Here we have some ideas of the more important results. We can think that, in conclusion, the art brut phenomenon is not found in most official art education curricula for children and young people. It is up to teachers to show interest in these artists and bring them closer to their students. This could strengthen the idea that the capacity for creation and expressiveness can also be found in untrained people and outside of official norms. Thank you for your attention.